classes resume at Petersfield Infant School today. Petersfield has been in the news. As a matter of fact, by the way, I understand that the people staying at Petersfield broke into the staff room, even defecate in the drawers. Is that true? There's heightened anxiety in Cuba. Cubans are anxious following what has happened to Venezuela. My goodness. Police unaliving is up to 11 since the start of the year. 11 persons have been unalived so far since we're just 5 days into the year. Why not be able to yourself? Why are you continuing to challenge the state? Not good for you, man. G Money, how you doing? There's a flash flood warning. As a matter of fact, it's a flash flood watch. A low-lying and flood-prone area of St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, and Manchester. Rains are falling. The rains are falling in January. Meanwhile, out of St. Mary, Kingston and St. Mary merges at this time as we welcome TikTok, Hello Neighbor, Politics Plus, my co-host, Caroline. Caroline, good night to you. Hi.
Good evening, Neighbor. How are you?
Well, my mind is filled with a lot of questions, Caroline. I see a lot happening in Jamaica, and spent some time doing some reading today, some research, and I found out that done well in many areas of this country, but there are still a few things we need to fix. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Neighbor. We're having a lot of rain. It's been raining all day.
It's been raining all day in St. Mary, eh?
Uh-huh.
I see the Met Service saying that you're under a flash flood watch. Where you are living, is it a low-lying area? Are you experiencing any flooding?
I don't know if it's a flood-prone area. I live near to the river.
Uh-huh.
So I can hear the river in the background.
Yeah. Do you love Jamaica? Do you love being in Jamaica, Caroline? Do you love being here?
I do. I love it so much.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Wow. I was reflecting on something you said to me today, this morning, that you actually went to Boston to get what you said, conch soup.
I had jerk chicken.
And you had a
jerk chicken, conch soup, and grilled lobster.
Uh-huh. Plus you had a Heineken. I remember that too.
Yes, I did.
You say to me that you love Jamaica, Caroline, but so many people are still, envious of that piece of American paper that they get up at Hope Road. Why do you think people still press so much to go to America?
I think it's because a lot of people have led Jamaicans to think that life is better there, but it actually isn't. So I guess it's just people want to have different experiences,
Uh-huh.
or they have not recognized their own potentials in their own country.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You told me last night that you did not set New Year's resolution, but do you have a view as to the type of Jamaica that you'd love to see emerging in this year 2026? Back to you, Caroline. Are you ready? What are something maybe the major thing that you'd love to see happen for Jamaica?
I was waiting for so long. Well, Neighbour, I think all the things that are important to me are in Jamaica, and they're happening as we speak. For so many years, I believe that our country has not grown because of crime, and the fact that the government is doing so much to control the crime here. I believe that is the path to seeing so many things different. It will change everything. But I don't know if there's anything I would change about Jamaica, because I love to tell people that I live where they vacay,
You live where they vacay.
I can't believe I've been touched by.
Are you one of those that feel that the whole Nestle administration is the best we have had?
Most definitely.
Uh-huh.
Neighbor, I don't know. Have you been?
Are you older than I am? Are you older than I am, or you're a young person?
I think I'm a little younger than you are.
But you're a young girl.
Well, neighbor, to be honest with you, I'm not uncomfortable with telling you my age. I just turned 50 last year, October.
You're 50.
Uh-huh.
But I am not 50.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah, besides, this is me a young boy. This is me a young boy, Caroline. What are you talking about?
Well, pardon me, sir.
Do you see any gray? Do you see any gray? Do you see any grays? Any grays?
I'm not looking.
Do you see? Oh my goodness. You see any gray here for me? Oh. Not a gray hair in my head. Oh, my young man, right? You're 50. What a fantastic! But you are a young girl, man. I didn't know that you were that young. Wow, you're a big woman. I thought you were. That picture up on my screen. That's you. That's
yes.
Yeah, that's you. Uh-huh.
It is.
That's a young girl. That's a young girl. Well, fantastic. The callers are shocked that you're only 50. Oh, wonderful. Great to have you with us, listeners. Rasta. No gray here, no. Just ready. Time, God bless. Yeah, Carol, you were telling me that you are one of them that feels that the Holiness administration is our best. You feel that? You really feel so?
It's not a feeling, neighbor. It's something that I know. It's an experience. Have you been to Montego Bay recently, neighbor?
Last year, yeah. I think twice last year. I was in Montego Bay. I think I went to Montego Bay twice. Yes, last year. Not to tour. I think I went to the airport, and after that, I think I went to have a meal. Someone took me for a meal in in Montego Bay. Pea soup. I had some pea soup.
So, you saw the development that's going on in Montego Bay, neighbor?
Well, I see that. I see it on the news. The pinnacle. I see that. And what else is happening there?
Neighbor, every single corner of Montego Bay that you can look, there is construction site. There is so much development going on in that city. It's like I'm amazed. I can't believe it.
Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah. By the
There's so much happening in Jamaica. If only a lot of people would know.
uh-huh. You grew up in Jamaica? You grew up in Jamaica?
Yes, neighbor.
Wow. And therefore you were part of the set. You were a 70s baby. As a matter of fact, if I'm careful, you were born in 1975.
Yes, that's correct.
Fantastic. My maths is not too bad at all. And therefore you would have grown up in the 70s. You would have been a baby when in 1980 when Mr. Siaga won the election, right?
Yes.
That means that most of your teenage life would have been spent under the People's National Party, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Was it a pleasant experience for you, or you were well off?
I don't know if I was well off, but I did not grow up into a very political home, so I can't be so critical of it. But what I know, neighbor, is that my almost my entire adult life I have experienced life with the PMP, and I really don't like them.
You don't like them? Okay,
I
wow.
don't.
Politics Plus is on until 9 o'clock tonight. Well, you know, Caroline, I ask all the questions here. I'm going to give you a chance to ask me any question you want. Don't make me blush too much. Just ask me any question. You be the interviewer now.
And you promise you'll be honest?
No. Don't ask me any question that you know I can't answer. Please, I beg you.
There's only one question I want to ask you, neighbor, and I would really like to know the truth.
Go ahead.
Are you a Labourite? For whatever reason, neighbor, you know, it's one of those questions that I have never gotten an answer from you. However, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that most of us here on your platform are Labourites. And I just want to say thank you for creating a space that we can have honest conversations.
Yeah. May I even add a part B to that? I admire Eddie Thiago. I think that Siaga had the greatest political mind in Jamaica and had the greatest vision. I know that the wholeness people may not agree with me, but Siaga, in my view, was a great man. Siaga, had he the opportunity, would have made Jamaica a model country. I think Eddie Siaga, Jamaica missed an opportunity when they failed to not re-elect Siaga in 1989. I think that's the worst mistake Jamaica made. And I don't think this country will ever recover from it. And remember what I say tonight, Jamaica will never recover from a missed opportunity in 1989 when the Jamaican people rejected Siaga in 1989. That is the worst mistake that Jamaicans ever made, and Jamaicans will never recover from it. And it introduced to Jamaica 18 and a half years of PNP, 18 and a half years. Siaga should have been re-elected for a third term. And if Siaga was re-elected, we would not have had FinSAC. I'll tell you about liberalization when Siaga warned the PNP against it. We would not have had FinSAC had Siaga been re-elected. We would not have PJ Patterson, and we wouldn't have Omar Davis.
I must let you know this. We have a prime minister who was born in Jamaica, who has lived the Jamaican life, you know, who has also lived and shared the Jamaican dream. He's very smart. He's brilliant. He's also very handsome.
Oh, I didn't realize that at all.
Oh, yes, he is. And he's a really very decent man. So, you know, neighbor, for a change, we are able to say we are proud of our prime minister. And I just want you to know that if you're not yet, it would be okay for you to say you're a Labourite. It's a very proud time to.
You may be too young to understand what I just said, that the mistake of the century that this country made is to not have re-elected Eddie Siaga. Eddie Siaga was a visionary. Eddie Siaga is one of our best to have ever set foot in Jamaica House. Eddie Siaga was a Jamaican like no other. And if there was ever a man that deserved a chance to build his country, it is Eddie Siaga. Edward Philip George Siaga. There's no match for him in this country so far. And I can tell you that the country missed an opportunity when they did not re-elect his government in 1989. Go back and read Siaga's manifestos. Listen to Siaga's speeches in Parliament. They are world-class. He was a man before his time. And this country here, you see, Jamaica, is a country of ungrateful people, ungracious people, you know, right? Because when you look at the work that that man did in the 1980s up to 1989, right? And I think Labourites' hearts were broken tremendously when they lost the 1989 election and stayed in opposition for 18 and a half years. Yeah, very sad. Anyway.
Well, you know, Neighbour, I had a brief encounter with him.
With Mr. Siaga?
I did. When I was like maybe about 10 years old, I did the common entrance exams, right? And I was awarded a government scholarship from my primary school. And I recall he came to my graduation and he gave me a big black and white TV as my present.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, that is fantastic. Yeah, yes. I'm gonna spend one of these evenings talking about him, and because I must tell you, I like Mr. Siaga. I really do. If I should even choose a prime minister in Jamaica, he would be at the top of mine. Me personally, I would choose Eddie above everyone else. Holness is still going, so let's see what happens. Holness is good too, you know, but Eddie was a genius. Very, very good. Did you know that Tivoli Gardens, Caroline, that Eddie Siaga concept of Tivoli Garden was to take people from the womb to the tomb, and he wanted to replicate. I see Joshua wants to join. he wanted to replicate that across the country. That's my understanding, where each community was so, you know, in that there were resources in each community that made them self-sustaining. Not like Eddie. Eddie's the, in my view. Well, I tell you the truth. When you talk about institutions, when you talk about ability to listen to me, man. Listen, Eddie's all right. Okay, welcome to the notes, and we're happy you're here. Thomas Jefferson has what I think is the best definition of government. Thomas Jefferson, his definition of government highlights what governments exist to do. And I'm going to give you 10 indicators of a government that is doing well. You know, when they do polls and they ask whether or not the country is going in the right direction, that's rubbish, you know. People respond to those polls based on their how they're feeling about themselves. It's not really about the country. It's about themselves. And I want you to tell me if I am being fair when I give you these 10 indicators. Welcome to the Neighbor's Notes. As I reflect on the past year, 2025, it is clear to me that the government, your government, is on the job. That this is not a government that has not taken its responsibility seriously. You know, there's a concept of by the people, with the people, for the people. And this takes us to Thomas Jefferson, because Jefferson writes that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. I want you to understand that word consent. And so when you hear people talking about them and them topanaris, you remind them that. You hear? The words of Jefferson remind us that the primary purpose of government is to serve the people. I want to repeat that. The primary purpose of government is to serve the people. And in serving the people, they ensure that their rights and their freedoms are protected and promoted. Let's therefore examine some things that demonstrates that the administration is attempting to meet this mandate. Firstly, the government has presided over a 42% decline in murders. This, my listeners, is a testament to the government's effective approach to national security. Now, I see today that Marlon Morgan is putting out a press statement that there are media organizations in Jamaica that are suppressing this. Love to talk to Mr. Morgan. So then, the whole matter of national security. Secondly, the GDP growth of Jamaica would have improved living standards for many Jamaicans. Economic growth. For you cannot promote freedoms and pursue happiness if you're poor, if you're not working, you don't have a job, the economy is bad. So you have the achievements of crime, you have economic growth, and then you have infrastructure development. There have been significant investments in roads, water, energy, infrastructure, because if you are going to enhance people's lives so that they can pursue happiness, you have to fix up the place. Yeah? And then you have education reform, initiatives to improve education. You see where the government takes away guarantors from the student loan, reduce the interest rate, access to heart, you can go there for free. If you are going to pursue your happiness, your dreams, you need to be educated. I see the PNP come with a thing about 1 degree per household. That's not a progressive policy, you know. That's bordering on patronage politics and clientistic politics, which the PNP is pretty known for. The fact of the matter is that what you want to do is to create broad access. You don't need to get into people's families and talk about every family should have a degree. Quite frankly, we must have a society where all our students are able to pursue their education based on their choices or the skill set that they have. You don't need government to be giving 1 degree per household. That's in my view clientistic. It locks people into dependency. Government don't need to do that. What government needs to do is to create the environment where people can access their loans. Yep. Take the, whatever difficulties are in the way, take that out of the way. Right? And not all people need to go to university, Not all people need a degree. We need people to work on collect garbage and people to work in other areas that don't need a degree. You don't need a degree to. You may need some training in some other areas, but you need a degree to plant scallion. Well, a degree in agriculture maybe. Well, I don't know. You don't need a degree to do some things that to make patty. Suppose you're a patty maker. I don't know. Yes? You need a degree to be a mailman. You don't need to go to university to ride around and deliver mail. It's a Crawford. Think again. Anyway, there is educational opportunities. These opportunities are accessible to Jamaicans. Choices. And then you have advancement in healthcare. Systems of health is strengthened and service improved, which helps with better outcomes. And some will argue that we have a far way to go, and I agree. But let me tell you this, from where we are coming from, healthcare in Jamaica has advanced. And then you have record-breaking tourist arrivals, boosting economic activity and creating thousands of jobs. You have agricultural development, support for farmers, agribusiness, and increase food security and export. Right? And the government has scored very, very well on disaster preparedness. The World Bank is suggesting that it is world leading. The Prime Minister himself was suggesting over the weekend that his own research suggests that Jamaica's response to Hurricane Melissa is just below or in line with first world standard. Little Jamaica is able to respond to disasters like a first world country. Enhanced disaster response and mitigation efforts have saved lives and reduced vulnerability. And then you have transparency in government. Those persons who talk about corruption. You tell me one scandal that came out of the government last year. One. Name one scandal that came out of the government last year. Someone sent me the Transparency International report that Jamaica has made strides. Yes, efforts to strengthen institutions, increase transparency, and promoted accountability. Yes, and Jamaica has forged strategic partnerships that have attracted investments and promoted Jamaica's interests globally. These achievements demonstrate the government's commitment to serving the people, ensuring their rights and freedoms are protected, and promoting their well-being. The recent electoral triumph is a testament to the people's confidence in the administration. You want no greater testament that the people of Jamaica have agreed that the government is advancing their cause than the fact that the government has been re-elected for 3 consecutive terms. I'll be right back.
Listeners, could you please tap the screen, share the live, repost the live as well, and please support the live goals.
It's 2 minutes to 8 o'clock. We go until 9. So as we celebrate these successes, we are reminded that government is not just about policies. It's about people. There was a slogan that talked about we put people first. Listen to me. Government is not about policies. It was, I think, Portia Simpson Miller who talked about balancing lives, balancing books while balancing lives. She was correct. You have to balance the book, but you have to balance people's lives. Governments are not about policies. It's about people. We put people first. That is not a slogan that the PNP can claim, for they may say it rhetorically. It may be part of their rhetoric. It is not part of their history. The Jamaican people have not been put first under the People's National Party. Yes, there were some social programs that the PNP introduced, but by and large, Jamaicans were not able to pursue their aspirations under the government of the People's National Party. Jamaicans suffered. And in that regard, the PNP as a government, especially in the period of the 90s, failed the Jamaican people. Lives were not secured. Liberty was trampled upon, and the people were not able to pursue their happiness. 500,000 Jamaicans were unemployed in 2007. 500,000. Now that's failure. That's failure. You can't have 500,000 of your people unable to find work. That's a shame. That's a failure of the state. Government is to be about people, not policies. Their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations. The hope of your people. There's not one person listening to me tonight that can tell me that I am not speaking the truth. That there was a time in Jamaica when our people lost hope. They lost hope. Even myself, I remember when I graduated from Homewood, I went to Homewood Technical. And I remembered, you see, when I think that's when about 1993 or 4 when I graduated. I walked all over Mandeville and couldn't get a job. I walked all over Mandeville. There was no possibility of finding a job. None. And I tell you this, I could not move from Homewood to UTech. It was cast at the time. I couldn't do it. You know why? My people them couldn't take out no student loan. Who was going to be a guarantor for a loan for me? Who was going to do it? And you know, I witnessed something unfortunate. I don't know if it is still happening. Students with their pictures coming out in the papers because they couldn't pay their student loan. How do they pay it and then they couldn't find work? They're going to find a work. So I had to, thank God for a teacher of mine, Betty Fallis. She said to me one day, she called me by my name. She said, "What are you going to do after school?" I said, I don't know what to do. I don't have no help. What you have to do? What you have to do? If you go on my yard, go sit down. You go learn trade. You leave that's you just go see if you can find one little trade. You could move on. There is not one child in Jamaica today that qualifies for college that cannot get into college. Not one. That's growth, that's success. There is not one student that leaves high school and qualifies that if they go to the Student Loan Bureau will not receive support to go on to further education. And if you cannot go into UTech or University of University of the West Indies, you can go to Hart. As a matter of fact, I think Hart is even offering a degree equivalency. And there is no person in Jamaica today that desperately need a job and can't find one. None. We're almost at full employment. You may not want the salary, or you may not want that type of work, but may I tell you, you can get work. And when I left school in 1993, there were no jobs available anywhere. You had to know someone. And I remember my first job as a waiter. I started my first job as a waiter. $500. The minimum wage, $500. What was the minimum wage? 500 Jamaican dollars. And don't tell me about inflation. Because what $16,000 can do now, $500 couldn't do. Now ask you that. Couldn't do. I felt like a pauper. There was no hope. I survived $500. That's $2,000. That's $2,000 a month. $2,000 per month. Okay. I'm coming right back.
And listeners, could you please support the life goals? Also, could you Please tap in the box with Neighbour to ensure you're not sending a request. Just tap in the box with Neighbour, please.
For those of you who are going to come with the inflation argument, one patty today is $300. One patty. You go down to Juicy and you buy one patty, one cheese patty, and one box drinks. It's $450. Today's money. That was the minimum wage that I started working at 70.
HR, the fun.
17 years old. No hope. No hope for me. In the land of my birth. Hopeless. That's failure. That's government failing its people. And I don't know how Jamaicans kept the PNP going for 18 and a half years. It's a research I'm doing, and when I find out, I'll tell you. How that happened, I don't know. Because there was nothing about that government that made them deserve re-election for 4 consecutive times. Today, when you go on the road, you stand up at the bus stop at morning time, the young girls are passing at them CRV, jet tour. Wow. Let me tell you something. When I went to school, you see, in the 90s, when you came into Mandeville, you had to left your yard at 5 o'clock. When you came into Mandeville, bus park, there were 2 buses running from Mandeville to Christian. Green Line, there were Tata buses. If anyone used to go to home, 2 lines, 2 buses, Tata. 2 Tata buses, they can't go over the hill. And you had to wait. You had to wait for the bus to go to Christiana and come back at Mandeville. Turn up in a Mandeville bus park. For the bus, go Christiana and come back. Sometimes 2-3 times before you get on one. And you never get a seat. Always standing. And today students are driving to school. I never saw my teachers drive. They sat in the front of the bus to school with us. Or they sit down in the bus and we stand up. I wonder which teacher in Jamaica now can't get a car loan. I'm saying, because she don't want it. Governments exist to help people with their aspirations, their dreams and their aspirations. And I want to say that I believe that this administration understands this and that they are working tirelessly for a Jamaican that works for all. You know, the government resonates with a principle in philosophy that is called the social contract. Caroline,
Yes, neighbor.
The listeners are so in tune that they are not tapping the screen at all. I'm getting a notification that the live is inactive. I would have to.
Well, I have tried to remind them to tap the screen, but also, neighbor, I found out that there are a lot of tappers in the box. So I have cleared the box. So if you're interested in joining the conversation at some point, please resend your request, okay? Please, I'm going to ask you to tap into the box with neighbor. Tap on his forehead, if you don't mind. And that will prevent you from sending a request.
Tap the microphone. Don't let them touch me in my face, please. Yeah, there's a concept in philosophy that is called the social contract theory. I've spoken to you about that several times, where government derives its authority from the people. Under this social contract theory, the government derives its authority from the people, and it is accountable to them. And therefore, governments are to be citizen-centric. And when a government is citizen-centric, its policies and programs reflects an understanding of the government's role as a servant. And I'm sorry to have to tell you that the philosophical underpinnings of the PNP does not come out here. Well, that's what my research shows. Under the social contract theory, you keep the people at the center of your policies. Aluna Samba made quite a telling revelation, when she spoke of the civic committee and that they full it up with PNP because they have an agenda. Now, what is that agenda? You see, when you understand your role as government, it is citizen-centric. Your policies, your programs are a reflection of this understanding. Now, look, for example, at the social housing program, which is a brainchild of the Prime Minister. And I want you to listen to him here. Just listen to him. This is a classic example of what I call understanding the social contract theory. You mustn't just elect people to parliament, people. You mustn't just elect them. For there are some people in the parliament don't belong there. There are some members of parliament, they shouldn't be in the parliament at all. Politics is about serving people. It's not a career. Yes? It's not a career. Yeah. It's not a career where you go into to either enrich yourself or enrich your friends. It's about lifting your people up. Yeah? It's about laying foundations for your people to build their lives. You see all this NHT thingy? Needs to be reformed, you know. But we talk about that some other time. This is not about enrichment for politicians. This is about a group of people that cares about the people. It's about serving your people. That's what politics is about. That is what politics is to do. Listen to the Prime Minister. Listen to him.
You and TikTok. The bad mind. The bad mind the Jamaica Labour Party for its performance. The bad mind the Jamaica Labour Party for our achievements. And they are.
I'm not playing on that for the Labour Party. I'm making a point about citizen-centric policies and programs, an understanding of the role of government. And I will encourage my comrade friends to look at it, because I think that's where the comrades are failing. Comrades, look out for comrades. Laborites, look out for Jamaicans. That is kind of a summary of what is happening. You see, you find that PNP communities, PNP people tend to eat a food under the citizen-centric state. Opportunities are created for the citizens. Everybody. It is for the people to advance themselves, right? And we have to get our people to understand that government creates the environment, but they have to get up and access the opportunities. Listen here.
Bad minding us for doing the things that you have always wanted a government to do, and when they have power for all this time, they never do it. And as soon as we start to do it, they try to turn the good into bad.
No, I will make this point that the work that the government is doing, they were elected to do it. We only heap praises here, because the others never did it. But the government was elected to serve the people, It's nothing, this is what they were elected to do.
A bad mindset of people. So we have been doing what the people want us to do. We have been fulfilling the social consciousness and social conscience of the people of Jamaica.
Social consciousness, social conscience, right? That's from the social contract theory. You see that wholeness understands his responsibility to the people. It's very, very good. Very, very good. That he understands why he is there, why governments exist.
So everybody should have a good house to live in. Remember, them the bad mind about my house. And when you give me the chance, they say, you know what, we have to make sure that every Jamaican have a good house to live in.
There you go. I go and make sure every Jamaican have a good house to live in. Well, it can't be done in 5 years. It can't be done in 20 years. But at least the Prime Minister seemed to understand the role of government. That's very, very important. You start out from there and you build your policies with a citizen-centric approach. And in our socio-cultural context, this means recognizing the value of community, of families, and of the dignity of individuals. The dignity of individuals. You have to see people as valuable. You have to see every Jamaican as an important member of the community. You don't isolate people. And therefore, when you're giving a man a house, you don't put him in a little board something and no tile it. You put him in a something good because you respect him. And the government's effort to promote economic empowerment, improve living standards, and enhance social services demonstrate a commitment to uplifting Jamaicans and promoting national pride. As we reflect on the government's performance, let us be reminded that that leadership is not just about power, but about service. Service to the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, let's take a look at the PNP, how they performed during their 18 years of government from 1989 to 2007. And when you contrast that with today, you'd realize that the PNP will have some questions to answer. Critics argue, you see, that the PNP economic policy led to the financial meltdown in the 90s, crippling businesses and increasing poverty. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we set out to deceive. Guys, if you live through that period, you see, you know, part of the problem, you see, and my time is almost running out. Part of the problem that the PNP has is that many people alive today came through that difficult period. We need a truth and reconciliation process in Jamaica. The PNP people need to repent and tell Jamaicans sorry. Yes, if they are going to be redeemed. Jamaicans don't like them, you know. Many Jamaicans don't like them because they have never owned up. Yes, comrades, can I know you're listening. You have never owned up to the mistakes of the 90s, and Jamaicans have suffered for it. Yes, we have suffered. We have suffered for it, man. And what you need to do is to come out and say, well, you're sorry. Tell the people of Jamaica sorry. Yeah. Because it is an albatross. It's an albatross around the proverbial albatross around the neck of the comrade. The crippling economy drove poverty. And you see this crime situation that we have finally gotten a grip of? Don't underestimate the role that the hopelessness of the 90s, how it would have contributed to the mushrooming of crime. And it was not a situation that could be solved easily, you know, because it was like a cancer. Because in the search for opportunities, many turned to a life of crime as a means of survival. I think I have discussed this with you, but I'm coming back at it. And I'm going to show you how the survival instincts of you, not because Jamaicans are bad. You see, even these street wipers you see in Kingston, yeah. You think a lot of them want to be on the street? Well, I don't have time to get into all of it. Anyway, the party's handling of the economy was marked by a heavy-handedness, particularly with the Financial Sector Adjustment Company, FinSA. Yes, you guys, I found that in the Jamaica Observer. The contrast there is that the Jamaica Labour Party has implemented sound macroeconomic policies, reducing public debt, and there is some talk in the country about the debt, and I want the neighbor rights to make the distinction between what is debt and what is debt to GDP. Your debt, well, Harry will explain that a little better than I do. But when your debt to GDP is low, it means that the capacity of the country to pay back its debt, doesn't matter how high your debt is, you know, it's like debt versus asset. If you have lots of asset, you don't worry about your debt, you know, because you can always dispose of your asset to take care of your debt. And one of the marvelous thing that has happened to Jamaica is that Jamaica has grown its debt to GDP. In other words, Jamaica has expanded its economy so that its debt is no longer larger than the capacity or the value of the economy. Debt servicing, I think, dropped to 33%. About 33% in 2014 to 2015. And the debt to GDP, I think, is set to decline to 69% this year. I think it was because of Melissa, because it was projected to be about 60%, which is just fantastic news. Now, in 1989 to 2007, crime in Jamaica was significant. It was a major problem under the People's National Party. They really struggled with very high murder rates. At one point, it reached as high as 1,700. 1,700. But look at the strides that have been made so far. The fact of the matter is that the period of the 90s were marked by a significant amount of scandals. You know, if I start telling you about scandals, I will not stop until 10 o'clock. Zinc. Corruptly distributing zinc to supporters and gang members rather than hurricane victims. It was a monumental failure. Yeah, the furniture scandal, luxury items were purchased for government ministers' homes and offices, with some office profiting. You had the motor vehicle importation scandal, the sand mining scandal. You ever hear about Shell Waiver? I tell you. Now, the Labour Party has had its fair share of incidences, but the difference is that where we have had these incidences, the Prime Minister has taken decisive action, and there are matters right now before the court. There was a time when the debt to GDP was 120%. Yeah, 120%. Yes. Unemployment. All of that. Too much to mention. Too many to mention. And when you contrast that with the period of the PNP, you realize that they were a failed government. They were not people-centric, and their policies did not benefit the majority of the Jamaican people. So then, here we are in 2026 with the Jamaica Labour Party. And there are many people who are fearful that somehow, in some time in the future, we could return to the PNP, and it means that we would have lost the gains we have made. Travis suggested today that that is not going to happen because of the institutional strengthening, the Fiscal Rules Commission, the Independent Central Bank, that there are guardrails in the society that would prevent any government from coming back with their recklessness. But man is wolf of man, and man is man's greatest enemy. And you never know until you know. I'm out of time. I'm sorry to have rushed through, but my time is long going. Moderator, I have 26 minutes. You can help me out with a few callers.
Listeners, if there are anyone who would like to join the conversation to add to the topics, please send your request. And while you're doing so, please continue to tap the screen. Please support the live goals and continue to share the live, please.
All right. First caller, Joshua. Good evening to you, Joshua.
Evening, sir. How are you?
How you doing, man?
I'm well, by the grace of God. I just left work, and when I first sent the request, I was in the parking lot. I'm actually in Walmart now. You know, very profound deliberation you had this evening. I felt like I was in a political science class, listening to.
I'm sorry, man.
Listening to a doctor.
No,
You know?
no, not at all. No, you know, Joshua. I try to prepare myself for these discussions, and today I did a comparative analysis. Your background is a little noisy there. I'd love you to help me with something.
Give me about 4 minutes. I'm gonna pick up a bottle of water and go to the vehicle and then talk back to you.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
A case of water. Right.
Yes. All right. Listeners, please support Politics Plus, and these lessons are to be taught in our classrooms. All right, great. Not a problem. 954-635-8732 is the Zelle account. You want us to come back here tomorrow? Well, we can't come back here without your support. I have to help my research assistants with all of this, please. Selburn Cox, hi. Last Sean Simit, how you doing? 954-635-8732. 954-635-8732. Please send a contribution to the show so that we can continue to do the work we're doing. "22 minutes to 9 o'clock. Good evening to you, Harry.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
You doing all right, sir?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good.
Harry, the whole concept of government and what government exists to do, Harry, you would have listened to the notes that I had, and whilst I was not as extensive as I wanted to be, but I get the sense, Harry, that for the first time in our history, well, not in our history, because I think the Siaga and Golden administration also showed signs of this, that people are at the center of government policies. Wouldn't you agree?
They should, yes.
Yeah.
Good governance embodies that.
Correct. And therefore, Harry, we would have suffered, therefore, over the past decades by bad government.
Definitely, neighbor. And it's not even just to say bad government, because it's a continuation of it over several terms. So it's more of, so if it was a one-off thing, we would have understood, but it was over several terms, and that shows it wasn't just a major failure in one event. The event continued, and that itself created a snowball effect of poor policies, which then leads to poor governance and overall a depleted economy.
Take for example, Harry, and many people don't know that under the PNP between 1989 and 2007, inflation averaged 18.5%. 18.5%, Harry. And under the Labour Party, inflation is averaging about 5%. Harry, this is amazing stuff, you know, to look at this type of information. You are running a country with an inflation of 18.5%, Harry, for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, and the thing with it, neighbor, I think this conversation wasn't one that was able to be had prior to now, because the truth is, back then, so many people didn't have the opportunity to understand what was happening. They were educationally deprived, if I want to put it that way. There was only a subset of people who knew what was happening, who lived it, so it's their lived reality, and sadly some had to run away from that lived reality, and others benefited from it, right? And that's something we've seen would have created a status quo that is, I'd say, slowly reversing to an extent, but the education aspect of it, to know this, neighbor, to dissect it, was never there. So it is now we're seeing a little bit more interest by a wider sector of people. And I have to say kudos. I mean, it could have only continued for so long, but we're trying to get it right, neighbor. We're trying to have the difficult conversation regarding this. And I think more and more people are seeing it. Even if they don't understand the intricacies of it, neighbor, just being exposed to the information has now triggered something within their psyche to either seek more information, seek clarity, and or to tune in and try to hear from other person's perspective.
Yeah, 80% inflation went as high as 80% in 1992. You know, Harry, I'm sure you know. 80%.
Yes, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because within the 90 to 95 term or period, it was averaging 40% per annum. With the peak at 1991 at 80%.
Yeah, and the Jamaican dollar depreciated by 1,178% between that. Think about that, Harry. A depreciation of 1,178% in the Jamaican dollar between 1989 and 2007. That is the type of depreciation we had, you know, Harry. How you go
and that is the embodiment.
Huh?
That is the embodiment of what we used to say, our money don't value nothing, neighbor. It was literally that. Because you'd have to try and produce. Sadly, we weren't producing anything to match that in terms of inflation. But sadly, to not have your dollar of any value and to also have your production level low or little, it was setting Jamaica, and you hear me always say it, neighbor, to be the Greece of the West. That was plummeting us into more and more debt. Remember, I know the then administration had to be borrowing money from the private sector, neighbor, at double digits, which means we're taking on more debt, we're not producing anything, inflation going out through the roof, and our people is just there. And we're borrowing more and more to cover and sending the country more and more in deeper debt that we couldn't repay. But yet still we hear that it was good governance.
Yeah. Is it not correct, Harry, that there is no way that a country recovers from this, even though that Jamaica would still be reeling from the effects of this period? Isn't that quite true?
100%, neighbor, right? Because the effects, and I don't even want to say the causation, but the effects it had, not just on the then generation, neighbor, but the generation after that one, is still showing. Because I remember the gentleman who said he was robbed of his youth and you know, potential opportunities, and that is so true. So imagine if and when he has a family, he's technically behind. And as such, that next generation would now be reeling from that. And also on a macro level, the debt that would have been incurred then, there was a saying goes that your pitney also has to contribute to the debt.
Yes.
So generations that wasn't born or even conceived the idea of that, generations down the road would have incurred that debt. So in essence, for persons who want to understand, again, the single man who don't have a partner and don't have a child is operating at a level where he has a family, has to be paying back money, has to be trying to produce in a certain way just for himself, but it feels like he's doing it for an entire family. And that is how devastating it is.
Yeah. One of the concerns I hear echoing Harry is that somehow the gains that Jamaica is making, continues to make, could be shattered in the future. And what it is that we as a country, as a society, can do to ensure that we preserve the gains for the generations coming after us. What can we do?
Neighbor, for one, this is one of the biggest things we can do, with the country now exposed to a standard of governance that is there for the people so far. At no point in time going forward, the people of Jamaica should accept anything less.
That's a fantastic point. Hold on for me, Harry. That is brilliant. That you're right. Coming back. Yeah. So I'm back. So you are saying that the Jamaican people, it is now up to them to make sure that they hold government accountable.
110% Neighbor. Because
Yes.
remember, for governing and when it comes out to governance, the true hold of the power is the people.
But do you think that the people of Jamaica recognizes this, Harry? Do they know that?
Neighbor, I think with looking at it from back then coming now, for example, with your situation that you spoke of, there was no real hope. You felt hopeless. And as these conversations are had, as the information is put out, as now people get the clarity, generations upon generations now, being able to be, as my friend Mr. Perry says, independent thinkers, Neighbor. We're going to see where governments are being held at a higher standard, governments are being held accountable, and more will be demanded from such governments, right? And that is one of the things, as we have these conversations, as it spreads to the wider people, doesn't matter where you fall on the ladder, you will now be exposed to information that causes you to think for yourself.
You are saying that the current administration, they have laid the benchmark for what a government is supposed to look like. In other words, in this generation, because many people would not have experienced Manley, maybe not Siaga, but they would have experienced PJ and Wholeness. And so you're saying that this is what government looks like.
Yes, Neighbor. And in fact, this is what comparison of long-term governance looks like. And that is me pulling from the PJ Patterson's era and now the Andrew Holness era. People will now see, and nobody can say it's a unfair comparison because it's similar terms.
Yes.
You get to see what happened then, and you see the opposite happening in an even harder time.
Yes.
And as such, what you deduce from it is simply that if this Andrew Holness administration can do this in recession, the greatest recession in 100 years, several hurricanes, the largest one at that here, right? They've also gone through several reforms. Compare that to the 90s when the world was set for a boom, when we had resources like bauxite and all those things at our hands to lay the foundation. Now you see where one set depleted that and there was no value added to the people's lives. Now, when you look at the other hand now with Andrew Holness, he started from back of the line. That's what he got after 18 years of Percival Patterson. And what he has been able to achieve with the continuity shows you that this is what should have been done. And he's doing it with little to no resources there. He's now empowering the best resource that a country can have, and that is the people. And he has started with ensuring people can be employed. Now, whether you are happy about the salary or whatever it is, that's where another conversation. Because before you could even think of a salary, you weren't even employable. Now you are employable and you're able to build, because people have to understand, there are starter jobs out there that there's a level you have to start at, right? And you build yourself because the opportunity is there for you to build. And that is what government does, provide you with the opportunity. Now, if you take it or not, that's up to you. And that is something we're able to compare now, Neighbor, to say, we've grown up in this, we were kids and whatever, but we can compare the impacts and get to choose what we want to do and who we want to stay and what we demand as a people.
I have to take you back a bit though, because there is a narrative in Jamaica that Wholeness and his government is just the best thing. They have done better than any other government previous to them. However, Harry, on September 3rd, you did not see that reflected in the way that I had hoped it to be reflected. How do you juxtapose that to the argument you are making? Well, firstly, to the fact that the government has done so well. How do you juxtapose the outcome of the election, which has lent strength to Golden, who continues to speak about the 400,000 people that voted for him, that they only lost by a mere 10,000 votes, that they doubled their seats. How could you have a society that you are describing the best government ever, yet when the people had a chance to demonstrate their affirmation, they never did that?
Well, but when we look at it, right, we also have to understand. Of course, there was I think 3% increase in the voter turnout this election compared to 2020. Now, a lot of things happens on the day of elections, right? Some things that will throw off individuals, others may be under duress, whatever that may be. And as such, there's still a transactional aspect of our elections that is a culture that has not reduced significantly enough for the people to vote where they ought to vote, meaning vote on the actual policies and performance. It is never something that was actually engraved in the foundation of how people voted fully from the conception of our independence. But it is something that's slowly coming out, right? And as such, I think, and this is me.
By the time we get to 2030, that culture will be infused a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think it will, Neighbour, right? In fact, we will see more of because what's happening now, we'll see more of thinking Jamaicans coming out to the polls because they would have now understood. So that comparison that I mentioned, they would have now gotten the full concept of what they have now and what they don't want to return to. Whether you love the leader or not, you understand and get a taste of sweet labor, the sweet fruits of that fiscal reform, of that proper management.
Yes.
the proper management, right?
Yeah,
you've also
right
know
buy you a drink tonight to call them.
Neighbor, you'll now be able to see what you are actually working for. And that is key, because if you look at it, Neighbor, and I want to, I don't want to put you on the spotlight per se, but I want to use what you said earlier. Remember, you were literally working for a cheese patty and a cocoa bread, Neighbor.
$500, yes.
Right? And now, if you're somebody who's come up through the ranks of that experience, that lived the experience, and now look at where it is now, you will now see not just by your purchasing power have increased for personal developments that you would have had, but also the opportunities that were created under this current administration. You'd now be able to see that you are now adding more value, not to your financial aspect, but to your life overall, whether that is education, healthcare. You're seeing better infrastructure, so now you have better roads to drive on. You're now seeing better investments, these investments that were never ever there in the peak of our resources that were available, right? And as such, value is now being added to people's lives. And I'm thinking by 2030, we should see an uptick in people actually voting along the fundamentals, which is policies and performance.
So what you're saying is that the benchmark for government previously was partisan period, and so people never thought that there was anything better.
Right.
No, they have wholeness, and when you compare both periods, you realize that this really is what government should look like. Do you think that the people of Jamaica, though Harry, are thinking along these lines, or do you think that they are still steeped in the tribalism type of I love my party, I will vote for my party no matter what? Or do we have to move to the uncommitted, those persons who are neither PNP nor Jamaica Labour Party. Are those the people that we need to target to make the difference?
Well, the numbers on the voters list has showed us that this is the uncommitted that has to be reached. I think that's something since Andrew Holness became the party leader of the JLP, he has gone after. Hence why you would have heard me said I've seen the JLP numbers increased over time, right? And as such, there's a larger subset there that's out there when it comes down to uncommitted, because what's happening is that these persons are either frustrated because of what they've grown up and seen for governance, so their understanding of governance is flawed because of what they've been exposed to. So it's just if you've been exposed to one thing, neighbor, you really won't be choosing anything. That has set the tone for you as an individual. But with you now understanding that with the same time frame, more could have been done and you're seeing more, then your the line in which you stand to not exercise your franchise, for example, or your right, will now be ticking a little for you to know, let me continue this regime. Let me give it another chance because I don't see better now. And you're seeing a lot of persons like that. Also persons who are very educated but are ignorant to the political process and to governance are now being exposed to that vital information. So they're no longer that outright ignorant. They may need clarity, but the information now is being put out there, whether or not they seek it, neighbor, right? There are just some things with the algorithms and so on of your day-to-day social media and so on that gets you. Even if you're taking taxi, you hear some stuff maybe on radio and so on, it gets you to start to think. And just by looking at the value of your life, you're seeing now it's being better off. You are seeing, for example, threshold being increased, something they said that could have never been done. Threshold, so it means you have a little bit more in your pocket to spend, to do an investment, to create a business, if you will. So there's more being done for the individual, and as they get to understand governance and government, to see that this is how they're being empowered and how value is being put in their lives through who they elect or didn't elect, they're now being pushed and influenced to now say, let me go ahead and ensure this continues.
No, Harry, the guardrails of the democracy will need to be established. And Travis suggested today, too, the independent central bank. Would you want to tell us a little bit more about how that sets up guardrails against government recklessness?
Well, the central bank, neighbor, is I don't want to lose people with it. So I want to break it down a little bit better. Let me see if I can just give the definition per se. But in essence, with the central bank being away from government, it simply means that they don't have full access to influence fully. What we've seen in the 90s when the private sector persons were actually hands-on with the BOJ and how they went about it. And we got to see, with very little regulation and regulatory body having power and being independent of the thoughts and, let me put it now to say, direct persons to say what should be done or have the power over what can be done, right? That is what the BOJ, being separate and apart from the government, is ensuring doesn't happen. Because we've seen, neighbor, when there's no setup for the BOJ or persons know it as the central bank to be different from the government. So it's not because the government want to do something in the BOJ accepts and agrees with it. The BOJ, being independent, double checks and ensure that they can support the government where it needs to be supported, but not because they are influenced by the government. So, for example, we would have seen, the 50 billion being taken out of the market over the Christmas period. Now, a government may say in a time like this that people need money, the demand needs to be there so people can have access to it. But the BOJ, being more fiscally prude, look at it to say, no, with this money in the market, this is what may happen. Inflation may rise. We have more money, too much liquidity, far few goods. So more money chasing far few goods, which then hikes up inflation even further than we can handle on a policy level, right? Or a fiscal level. And that those are one of the things we have to maintain, that the integrity of the central bank remains separate from the government to protect that integrity, neighbor. So that's one of the major things in which we have to ensure, never ever let them fuse again, because it helps the people more than they understand.
Yeah, and the second one was the Fiscal Rules Commission. These fiscal rules, though, Harry, I understand that governments can make some overtures, application for them to be adjusted based on what is happening in the economy.
They can, but it has to be in terms of when they meet with committees to understand specifically these fiscal rules. If, and this is a major if, neighbor, it's not something they can just get up and do, because these fiscal rules will impact the national debt to GDP based on what they are, right? And that in itself is a major thing, meaning if your debt to GDP, what you're doing or putting forward will impact your debt to GDP with the current 2.2 trillion debt that we have. You don't want that debt to GDP to immaturely or too quickly be increased. So for example, we are currently at what, 62.4 thereabout. You wouldn't want any fiscal rules or policy from the government put in place to say, let's allow for more freedom of money within the economy per se. That in itself, if that money is not backed with production, it will then have a negative impact on your debt to GDP, because if you're not producing, right? And I love to go back to one of the things I did in the 90s. We had more money coming into the country, but not in the economy. So it wasn't backed by any level of productivity or production, which then had a great impact on our debt. So with all of this, we hear about, yeah, man, a lot of money was in Jamaica and so on. Yes, the money was here, but the money was not stimulating any form of growth. It came in, interest rate went up, private sector people made money left the country. That was exactly what it is. So based on the fiscal rules now, neighbor, you wouldn't want a government to be able to temper that too much. And as such, you need to protect the economy overall.
Fantastic. Great. Hold on there for me, Harry. John, you wanted to say something?
Neighbor,
Hello?
I am listening and learning, you know, neighbor.
Yes.
I am listening and learning, you know.
Yes. Anything to add?
You know, neighbor, I just speak about monetary policies with the independent central bank. Even in today's world, here, many Jamaicans on the street will say, oh, remember in the 90s, more money was in pocket, but not realizing that Omar Davis could take up the phone from down an era circle and call the central bank governor and give the direction to print money to just let it go into the economy. And those are some of the things that caused high inflation throughout the 90s that erode our earning. You know, neighbor, let me tell you something. Jamaica has come as far away, and thank God that he has chosen Andrew Holness to become the leader of this country. Because many of us today, neighbor, yes, yet to fathom the reality of what this government has saved this country from. Yeah, we were saved from the brink of destruction.
Uh-huh.
Yes, neighbor. Because when I listen to Harry here outline all of these intricacies of financial matter, him definitely know finance more than Omar Davis. And I remember Omar Davis was loaded in the Jamaica marketplace by people in media, or he was the greatest.
Uh-huh.
And after his thing, I think he's the longest serving finance minister in the history of this country since independence. And after his reign at the central bank, at the finance ministry, Neighbour, we were bankrupt, absolutely bankrupt. That I remember, even when you was a policeman, and no matter how much you pass the exam, you couldn't get a promotion in the police force because there was no money to pay you.
Yes, sir. You're quite right.
Neighbor, I garner a lot of information through the 90s and the early 2000s, listening to radio, listening to the voice of Marty Perkins. You understand, neighbor? At one time, police officer could not get promotion in this country because there will be no money to pay them. That's where we are coming from as a country. You know, neighbor, you said something a while ago where you said that you are a little disappointed that the result of September 3rd did not reflect the performance of the government. You see, neighbor, in any democracy, neighbor, you need your media to provide the right information to the populace. And if the media is against the government and selling false narratives to the people. You see, neighbor, we grew up in a country where our people listen to radio.
Yes.
People listen to radio for information. And when people get their information from the radio, they take it like a gospel when they read the Bible.
Yes.
Yes, neighbor. And if you listen, neighbor, it was only Cliff Hughes from traditional media house was providing the truth in the Jamaican society. Every other media house, both electronic and print media, was against the government. And neighbor, a lot of our people are not politically educated. You understand? So they depend on hearsay to go to the poll and mark the X. You understand? Then you have another large percentage of our electorate, neighbor, who voted for political spoils. And if the spoil is not coming, they will stay home and don't vote.
Well, what you are describing
policies of government. It is not the policies of government that will drive some people to go to the poll in the neighbor.
Yeah.
But it's what they get in their pocket.
Yes.
So if you so
in other words, you are describing a complex potpourri of situations that the democracy will have to deal with as we move forward. But do you countenance, John, a time in Jamaica where we will lose the gains we have made? This is what I'm kind of worried about. Can we go back?
Neighbor, let me tell you something, neighbor. September 3rd was the most consequential time in the history of this country. And I am so happy, neighbor. I am overwhelmed with joy that the government was able to hold on to power. Because all of that gain that this government achieved, neighbor, would have been wiped out in 5 years. because all of those old ratoon PMP that the People's National Party was able to energize,
Ratoon, sir.
come back to the poll to cast a vote, wasn't voting for Jamaica, wasn't voting for the policies of the government.
You call
but
them
they were
old ratoon.
voting for political spoils and promise.
Yes. But you call them old ratoon, sir?
Yes, neighbor, old ratoon PNP. And they will die in their ignorance. And no matter what policies the government bring about to benefit Jamaica, they will vote against it.
Uh-huh. But I don't like that term, John. Old ratoon.
It's just a reality, neighbor. Maybe it's a strong of a word, but it's just a reality.
Yes. Yeah. Just troubling you, my brother. So you don't think that we can set up guardrails into society that
Yes, neighbor.
that prevents us from going back. So we cannot go back, sir.
Neighbor, let me tell you something. You see, your note a while ago when I lie here and listen to your note, neighbor, I am saying to myself, wow, why is this not preaching more on mainstream media? Why this is not a part of our curriculum? Teach our people how to think critically, or teach our young people how to engage. Let our young people at the university understand the importance of good governance and what good governance brought about and all of these things. I remember, neighbor, when my brother graduated from Northern Caribbean University with a degree in accounting and marketing. He couldn't get a job in Jamaica. He walk up at Kingston, Port Antonio, Port Maria, Ochi Rios, dropping off resume to him become frustrated. I remember he even went to NCB Bank, Jamaica National Scotia Bank, voluntary service that he will work for 3 months for free to get a job.
That was true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
neighbor. And with a degree in accounting, neighbor, him have a turn to go plan for Cocoa Bush. Couldn't get a job. Today, he's employed at the Minister of National Security as an accountant.
Plan Cocoa. In Plan
You hear
Cocoa.
me, neighbor? In Plan Cocoa. Couldn't get a job with a first degree.
You need a degree to Plan Cocoa.
So neighbor, I know where this country coming from, Even myself, and an example, neighbor. When I learned my trade and master my trade, I saw myself was getting somewhere very rapidly in the 90s, and all of that turn in reverse. Started to get my one little job, building my one little house, and all of them something there. And all of that was wiped out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you are not giving me the answers that I'm looking for, though. John Major. How do we prevent the country returning to those days? How do we make sure that we stay on this path? And don't tell me that we do that by keeping the Labour Party in government. That can't be the answer.
Well, neighbor, let me tell you something, neighbor. At some time in history, the People's National Party will come back to power.
Yes.
But it is going to take now, neighbor, for people in media, people in the civics group, people in academia to hold the People's National Party accountable and say, listen, you need to reform the party. Come to the reality that no longer we expect from the People's National Party a party that look out for the girls and the boys. That you are no longer a party that believe in distribution of political spoils and scarce benefit. You understand?
Yes.
So the People's National Party really need to reform, neighbor. from the old traditional way how they govern. Right? And then no neighbor program like yours, and we need others to engage the people, to help the people to understand the importance, what politics really mean. It is not just casting a vote for a political party of choice, but it has far more underlying meaning to your well-being. You understand?
Yes.
And then no neighbor, the educated class of us need no neighbor to step forward and to engage to be a part of the democracy.
Yes. Yeah, let me ask.
Too long, neighbor. Too long over the years, neighbor. The lumpel is the one who go to the poll and mark an X, while the educated ones are retreat in their living room.
Hold on for me, John. Joshua, John.
Greetings, sir. How are you?
John,
Yes.
the Jamaica of today, with the preponderance of media, and when I say media, I'm also including social media. Voices like yours, Harry, John, Major, Travi, Chuck, Chops. Do you think, Joshua, that you are making a difference in the psyche of Jamaicans in terms of informing people, and people are getting a better understanding of how they are to be engaged citizens? Do you think that it is helping?
It is helping, neighbor. I would want to make what will seemingly be a contradictory statement, because we have made major inroads in terms of ensuring that the information is disseminated to the masses, but it's still too little. And what do I mean by that? Because when you have a political party with an ideology that is contrary to good governance, because it's not just the way they govern, which is the danger, it's the ideology that they have. Because one can govern erroneously, but they had good intentions and they're aware that they made some mistakes. I heard you mention earlier, as part of your remonstration, that the People's National Party owes the Jamaican public an apology, right? And they have not, but before an apology can be made, they have to first come to the recognition that we have failed the nation. Not only did we fail them in governance, but we are still yet failing them while being in opposition. And so the information that we're giving to them, it's not only erroneous, but it's destructive. And that is part of the reason why, as much as we have made some great gains in pushing back against the fallacies of the PNP and the fallacies and the propaganda that is out there, it is still far too little, because in our engagement with persons in the social media spaces and in other spaces, what we find out is that there's a preponderance of ignorance that is in the nation. And in
I don't see
addition
how
to
you
that,
can. I don't see how you can have inflation averaging at 18.5%, and you not feel Joshua. I don't see how you can have your dollar 1,178% in terms of depreciation, and you don't feel. And this is exactly why, as I heard Chop saying this morning, Joshua, that there could be no improvement in crime because the economy was just bad.
It was, sir. In fact, when you were deliberating, and when I made the statement earlier that it was a scholarly presentation by you, I know I made it flaccidly, or what seemingly was a flaccid statement, but it was not intended to be. I was very serious, right? Yes, it was a compliment, but it was not a light compliment. It was a sincere compliment coming from me, right? It is very, very scholarly. And what you have done successfully, though I don't believe that was your intention, is to put those who are in the university classroom to shame. Because with less than a week's worth of research, you're able to come up with what they should have been doing for the last 30 years.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so you made the point that about the inflation, the runaway inflation, but you did not mention the 300% increase in the crime, because when they got the homicide rate in 1989, it was 436. And when they demitted office, it was over 1,600. That's exactly 300% increase in the homicide rate.
Yeah.
Right?
But-
and they struggled with that for 20 plus years. And this prime minister, with the help of the Lord Jesus Christ, used 9 years to half what they built in 30 years and could not reduce.
No, on to the whole matter of the guardrails, Joshua. The discussion is about what is the Jamaican society going to do to ensure that we preserve the gains we have made, Joshua, that no government now or coming after can come back into power and wreck our country again. What it is that we are going to do.
All right, so I'm glad you phrased it that way, and it's a great question. Because this is not just a government initiative. This is not just action that is demanded by a government or party affiliates. This is an all of society approach that is needed. Unfortunately, we will not have that. So those of us who are on the ground already, whether affiliated to the party or just interested in the betterment of Jamaica, will have to ensure, one, that we push back against anything that is anti-Jamaica and anti-progressive for the nation. Two, we have to lobby that civics be put back in school permanently. Right? Because I think it was very deliberate in removing civics from school to keep the people ignorant so that the people will not recognize the fallacies of the then administration. And so as one of the guardrails, civics must go back in school full time. In addition to that, mental ability, because we have to teach people to think for themselves, think logically and objectively, without the trappings of political connection.
Okay.
Right?
You sent me a tape with Alun Asamba speaking about an agenda that the PNP had an agenda. What is the agenda, Joshua?
All right. You just opened up a can of worms, sir, because if you studied communism, right, and I know you're an erudite gentleman. If you study communism and how they operate, they have a system that they refer to as the regime. That's what they call it, the regime. Right? Now, the regime is about control and totalitarianism. Right? And as part of that agenda that they have, they make sure that they have eyes and ears in every agency. That's what they call it, agency. Whereas we may say department of government, they call it the agency, right? And so every agency is run by a member of the regime or a loyalist to the regime. So you mentioned about not caring about the people, and you didn't use these words. I'm just paraphrasing, right? Their concern in communism, it's not about the people. They preach it in socialism. And it's not just communism, because socialism is a child of communism, right? And the child carries the parents' DNA, right? So though in socialism, they preach about people-centric and all of those things and the whole thing, it is not about the people, it's about control. It's about ensuring that we feed them just enough to keep them hungry so they keep coming back to us and remaining loyal to us. And everyone who's going to be... Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
right? And so what they have done is to make sure that persons are placed in key areas of society that is connected to the regime at all times, right? That carries the hope and the aspirations and the programs of the regime, not necessarily being beneficial to the people, but being beneficial to the regime. And that is what Aluna and Dumba Samba was talking about, that we have an agenda. This is our agenda, to hold on to power. And in order to hold on to power, we are going to do what is necessary. This is the same thing that was carried over from the 70s about the Ministry of Mobilization that was led by D.K. Duncan.
So the agenda was what? Or is what?
The agenda is to hold on to power. It's not about people. It's about us holding on to power and feeding the people at the top, ensuring that those who can help the party to remain in power benefit while the masses continue to suffer. We give them just enough so that they don't die, but not enough to make them prosper. So that we'll continue to run back to us when they are in need, and in so doing, they see us as the savior while we are the ones who are keeping them down.
You are saying that this was at play in Jamaica, sir?
Yes, sir. Let us give you an example. When we look at FinSAC was created by his own admission, Mark Golding, under Omar Davis on the advice of Mark Golding. Now, Mark Golding said he was the advisor to the then finance minister. Because of the then policies, we had runaway inflation, runaway high interest rates, which crashed businesses. The same advisor advised the then Minister of Finance to sell these businesses and these assets to him at pennies on the dollar, and then sell back the same assets at a higher rate back to the government.
Then why is it that the Jamaican people have not? Is it that the Jamaican people have not seen this? Because is it veiled, Joshua?
It is veiled to a certain degree. And the reason I said veiled, because they make sure that they have the loudest voices in the critical spaces. All the media houses. When you look at the 9 principles of propaganda, the original principle, not the edited version, but in its entirety by Joseph Goebbels of Germany. One of the pointers that they raised, which by the way was a socialist party, one of the pointers that they raised in it was to make sure that you control the media. So the majority, with the exception of one media entity that they cannot control, all the media houses are under their thumbs.
Hold on. Which media in Jamaica, sir?
I don't want to put the station under unnecessary pressure, because the last time one of their own member went on stage and says that that media house was an incubator for the JLP, 2 days later, some pew reached the media house.
Wow. You think that media in Jamaica, sir, is largely controlled?
It is, sir. It is.
Is
one man who is the chairperson of the largest media conglomerate in Jamaica, namely RJR Group, by his own admission, says that he's the best friend of the opposition leader. He left a board meeting. Now, the board meeting, you have sat on boards, I have sat on boards, right? And we know the importance of a board meeting. That's where critical plans are discussed for the advancement of any entity, right? And he left a board meeting to go and support his friend.
But that doesn't mean he controls editorial decisions, Joshua.
Well, he may not control it. His friend doesn't control it, but he does. When we look at the editorial, take for instance, crime, with with an exciting news item such as crime falling below 700 for the first time in 31 years.
Yes, I agree with that.
One would think that this would excite the media house. 2 things happen. It wasn't mentioned this way, and when it was mentioned, it was compared to New York City. the amount of unaliving that Jamaica has is greater than New York City. And not looking at it to say, hey, it is half what it was 9 years ago.
Speaking of that, listen to Marlon.
How long did it last?
Hold on.
Do you think it'll stop? Did you get the track?
Listen to Marlon Morgan on that.
There has been a vulgar and misleading campaign by a segment of the media as
Is he on?
Yes, sir. I'm here, but once you got the segment of the media, I didn't hear anything else.
All right, let me go again. This is I wonder which segment of the media he's talking about.
there has been a
It is
vulgar
obvious, sir.
misleading campaign by a segment of the media as evident in numerous news reports, commentary, and editorials, including editorial cartoons, to diminish the tremendous success of the JCF in reducing murders in 2025 to a 31-year low, subtly attributing the significant reduction in murders to increase the police fatal shootings. Contrary to the impression a particular segment of the media is seeking to give the public, it is not the mere number of police fatal shootings that should come into sharp focus. Rather, attention and the public discourse should center on whether or not the various incidents of police fatal shootings were justifiable. Well-thinking Jamaicans want the police to carry out their work professionally and in accordance with their use of force policy and human rights training. To the extent that Jamaica has an independent investigation commission, INDICOM, ongoing body-worn camera procurement and deployment, as well as internal JCF investigative and disciplinary procedures, neither the media nor the public should be preemptive of due process, as a police fatal shooting may well have been warranted. It is for the well-established accountability mechanisms that are in place and continue to be put in place by the government to determine whether or not a police fatal shooting was in fact justified.
Hold on. What segment of the media is the senator referencing there, John?
The RGR group, Neighbour.
Well, I don't know.
RGR group which cover the Gleaner, RGR Radio, Power 106 FM, and others.
All right. So let us go back. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Joshua.
Let us go back a little in history. After the 2016 general election, and the PNP had their post-mortem, and they concluded that they were outflanked by a greater presence in the airspace by the JLP. They had what was known as a media party shortly afterwards. Andrew Holness was the darling of the media at the time. All the media houses were talking about him and all of those things. The PNP held what was known as a media party. I had videos of it at the time and clippings from it. And immediately after that, the entire media fraternity, except for one station, turned right around 360. Right? I have spoken to journalists who told me that part of the reason they don't like to go to a JLP press briefing is that they don't get a lot of food. Right? they get drink and they get a sandwich. But when the PNP has their media briefing, it's a feast. It shows you that we have sold our objectivity on the altar of our belly. Right? And so all the media houses, with the exception of one, when you listen to the common rhetoric, there's no objectivity. When you listen to the questions within the debates that we had, the questions were basically aggressive one side and soft, a toss-up on the other side. And in some cases, some of the questions were repeating verbatim the line of the opposition. When you listen to the press briefing and a certain journalist who's supposed to be a senior journalist come to these press briefings, she basically echoes PNP lines. Right?
My time is running out, Joshua.
Yes, sir.
Time is running out, my brother. I don't have a lot of time left. Let me go back to Harry. Harry. Yeah, Harry. As we look to bring the curtains down on this program tonight, we're looking at how we go forward and not look back, and the guardrails that we need to put up. And the comparison, Harry, is striking. But we're arguing also that we have to look at a more informed people, Harry, that take their democracy seriously, so that when they go to polls, they vote on issues. Yes.
Of course, neighbor, definitely. And I think one of the things is that we as a people, because while we may look at it from the macro level, and I mean, I know we'll need time, maybe this has to be a series for this week or so on. But while we're looking at it from the macro level, the people themselves, we have to look at it from a micro level as well. And us as Jamaicans who state that we are patriots for Jamaica have to now look within ourselves to see how we can be better. Because the saying goes that be the change that you want to see in someone else, right? And as such, we have to, as a society, as a people that shape society and society shapes us, right? We have to now determine what are the sustainable models that we are going to embark on, that we're going to employ as we go along in our day-to-day lives, in our communities, wider into the structures and major tenets or pillars of society. Because one of the major things, neighbor, is that whatever we decide upon as a nation, as a group of people, it has to have a level of predictability to it. It has to also be able to have sustainability. Things that are not just good for now, but can also continue. And you would have heard me personally said continuity is one of the key things when you have good policies, right? When you have good structural systems, and we're not speaking of the physical buildings now, but programs and plans that you employ right throughout society have to serve the greater good and fall within the patriotic regime. And that's something us as individuals have to look into. We have to come together and let the social fabric of society be great again. I know Mr. Trump said for the US, let America be great again. But I'd say let Jamaica be great once more, right? Let us see the true reflection, the true ability of its people going forward. We already know that we are a set of world-breaking people, great thinkers, but let us do it on a larger scale. Let us do it over generations. Let us not be known as people who make the same mistakes over and over again, right? Let us correct those. And I think demanding more of ourselves as individuals, demanding more of our leaders, and understanding what the world standards are, and don't ever let those standards fall below acceptable norms. And our acceptable norms, neighbor, should not be on the ground. Our standards should be at a level that it scares us. Let it be integral in our society, how we go about everything. Because the saying goes, how you do anything is how you do everything. And as a nation, we've finally been exposed to how to get it right. So let it be the very least that we demand, not just from opposition and so on, but even from this current administration. Let them know that they can't drop the ball. So whether it's opposition or this one, let them know that this is what we've been exposed to. And it is world reckoning. And as such, we want to stay at world standards. Anybody offers anything less should not get a seat at the table. They should not even get a thought by the people of Jamaica. And that is my few words in terms of how we go about.
In other words, the whole campaign process, the way we who is to be elected is where it starts from. Yes.
Have
What
to,
are you,
neighbor.
what are
Have
you
to.
offering us?
Right. And it's not something we can look at. For example, this $20,000 votes and these things, we have to get that out of the minds of the people. Let us move from a survival mindset to a thriving mindset. So just like how flowers bloom in the spring, neighbor, and come to life, that is something we've gotten a taste of. We've seen how good we can be, how productive we can be as a people, right? And the rest of the world has seen it. So if we can look through the lens of the rest of the world and understand what we've done right and how we can make those right even better, then we, neighbor, can be living the dream that we've all dreamt over time. But we have to first put credible people who will take accountability for their actions, people who want not just power, but people who want purpose to be filled in everybody that's around. So that is putting, if somebody's putting party over people, then that person should not get the power to do so. Because the true power lies within the grasp of the people.
Of the people.
So until we can understand that, neighbor, which is why I said things that we're seeing and it's being right throughout the media, persons that are hearing it, they have to look in with themselves and say, what do I demand of myself should be no more than what I demand of someone else who is in leadership. In fact, you should demand more and take it seriously. Because I don't think people understand that when somebody's leading, it's a pressuring thing. But if you accept everything that comes your way, then you can't demand more. And you have to be able to put somebody who is competent, who is adaptable, who is industrious, and who delegates and listens to the voices of the people. That is what you want, and that is how we move forward as a nation.
Neighbor, I'm asking, for the privilege of 30 seconds, like I say something here, very profound.
Yes.
When Philip Palwell was in government, and with all the mishap he has as a minister, the Jamaican people never hold him accountable until when Betty and Blaine, which was a talk show host, decide to let go party colors and finally speak out on accountability and transparency. When he have that net serve mess up where $201 million was given away taxpayer money, and up to now, Jamaica have not received back that money. Maybe today, if Betty and Blaine never let go party colors and speak out, maybe today, Palwell will be the leader of the PMP. And it's when Betty and Blaine speak out, many Jamaicans become aware of how much this minister have cost Jamaica through corruption and mismanagement. You understand? And may God rest her soul wherever she lies this night. You understand, neighbor? So I am saying this, neighbor, saying this to say that the importance of when people in media and people in academia stand up for fairness, stand up for justice, stand up for accountability, and stand up for good governance.
I think that is the point, sir. I think that's where we have to go. We have to take ownership of our country. Final thoughts from you, Joshua, as we wrap.
Thank you, sir. Final thoughts. As we look at the guardrails that you have mentioned, and in addition, first of all, the gains that we have made, nothing must be spared in protecting these gains. That means that all, as I had stated before, and all of Jamaica's approach must be maneuvered must be it must be a coordinated and a sustained response to the lies, the propaganda, and the attempted sabotage of the PNP and their surrogates. In addition to that, voices like yours who have captive audience. I look here and nearly 300 persons are here, not to mention those who have passed through. You have the numbers more than I would, right? You have a captive audience that is always looking forward for something, not just fresh, but something that is of meaning, great meaning, that can help to anchor them, that can help to inform them as to what took place in the past, what is taking place now, and what is projected for the future. People that lacks knowledge of their past will not be informed to move forward properly for the future. They are doomed to repeat the past if they lack the knowledge of it. And so when persons are going to say, forget the past, how can you forget that which took place and it is impacting you now? It's like telling those who were in the gas chambers in Germany to forget it like it never happened. It's like telling the 20 million Africans in Belgium family that it never happened, so just move on. And so we cannot forget the atrocities of the past, because if we do, then we are doomed to become careless, right? And this argument about guardrail would never be in the forefront, right? And in my landing, the Prime Minister and his team and the party and its team, and I deliberately separated government from party, must ensure that they push back at everything that is anti the greater good of the country. And I stop right there.
Fantastic. Have a great night, sir. Take care of yourself.
Yes, neighbor.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
And neighbor, in closing, I want to personally thank you to fill that vacuum.
Well,
Thank you, sir. Well done.
Don't have all that at all.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. A long time ago, not a sweet babe, I made a big mistake.
Someday we'll be together.
Say
11 minutes to 10 o'clock. Hello, Daphne. How you doing? Daphne. Oh, Daphne. Oh, Daphne. Oh, Daphne. How you doing?
all I wanna do every
Harry, Henry. Harry, the value of a vote as we bring the curtains down on this Politics Plus program today. The value of a vote, Harry. I think we need to get people to understand that your vote matters and your vote is valuable, and it's not worth 2,000 or 5,000 or a plate of curry goat.
Definitely isn't, neighbor, and that's the thing about it. You see, when persons don't understand how valuable they are in the setup of a country, I think they accept every and anything on the lower end, and I think that has been something set up in the culture around politics for far too long in Jamaica, and it's something we have to change, because in essence, what you're saying, when you accept this is 2,000, 5,000, or even as far as $20,000 for that day, is that you have now given away and contributed to how you will be governed, and that money doesn't worth anything after you've done that, right? You want to understand what it is, what value, when I cast that vote, how much value I'll add, not just to my life, but to those who are around me, because my decision has that power. Now, it may seem like it's just in the ocean, one droplet doesn't mean anything, but I can tell them that every droplet has its purpose. Every droplet is functional in this society, neighbor. And sometimes all it takes is one droplet to cause a ripple effect So don't demean your value, because your vote reflects your value.
Yes.
And when you accept a $2,000 and $5,000, you are saying you have no value. You're valueless in the systematic process and in how we go about it. And especially, neighbor, if you are head of a household, makes it even worse, because you've now not just given up your value, but you've devalued the leadership that will govern your family. And that is not something we should take lightly at all.
Uh-huh. And so what you are basically saying, Harry, is that the government that we have in our lifetime as Jamaicans, it resembles the definition of what government exists to do, which is to secure life, liberty, and help people to pursue their aspirations, their hope. And that previous governments would have failed at that. But then the Jamaican people have to make that comparison and take ownership of their country. And therefore, in any future quest to elect, they need to bear these things in mind. Isn't that what we are talking about tonight?
Definitely, neighbor. They have to. And this is one of the major things. That's why I brought up
that is fundamentally the guardrails, or the most fundamental guardrails that we can put up. It's that our people must own their country and elect the leaders that show interest in them.
Definitely, neighbor. In fact, and persons will say, play on words, but elect people who choose Jamaica. You know the saying that say, choose people that choose you, neighbor? That is exactly what is needed for Jamaica right now and beyond. Choose people who put the business of the country forward. And by putting the business of the country forward, you are putting the people forward, because the people is at the heart of the business. The people is your greatest resource. And if you have a party or leaders that have fallen from that, then be brutal and critical to ensure that they don't enter the fray of getting that power. And that is something the people need to understand. You don't give your power away to people who can't be trusted, people who lack credibility.
What a fantastic point you're making. And also, I'm to do a series with KC, looking at the members of parliament who lost. Some of these MPs will lose. KC, need to go find something else too. Because is it a rejection in a sense, Harry?
It is to look at it, neighbor. But one of the things I've also grown to see, and this is the difference between both political parties, maybe because of the time frame that one would have been out. What I've seen for the People's National Party, that they take this political thing as a job, as an employment.
Yeah, a career.
And I preface it to say, maybe because the Jamaica Labour Party persons coming up in that 18 to 20 years didn't have that same luxury. They had to find something to do to stay alive, to be productive people of society. And as such, I see that difference in both. And I embody that difference, neighbor, because what it says is that one knows nothing outside of where they are, while the other understands both sides of the coin. Because one had to fend technically for themselves and be productive and add value outside of the realm of governance, right? While the other only knew that. But then the same one who understood how to be productive outside of government took charge of government and be able to put both together, neighbor. And if people look at it, the current administration has brought the private sector even closer to government. They're listening more they're having collaboration for different stakeholders right across the board. So it's more inclusive of different areas. Before, we didn't have that, Neighbor. We had people who stayed in politics for 40 years, people who left at 70 plus. I call them the pre-independence baby. They knew nothing else. And that is not something I want to see for Jamaica ever again.
Well, we have to put down on the program tonight. Thank you so much for your quite astute analysis and insights, sir. We thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and I'll catch you tomorrow.
Definitely, Neighbor. Of course, I'll be listening in the morning and be back here in the night. But it's my pleasure to share my thoughts and perspective on what I know of, barring the years as well. I think I want people to understand that don't let the years that you have, or lack of years, let you be afraid to speak and share your perspective. Gone are the days where wisdom comes with just age. And an understanding comes to just age. There are things you will learn, but sharing your perspective also motivates others to give you their experience and their lived realities, which helps our conversation going forward, Neighbor.
You're a fantastic Jamaican young man, sir, and I'm very proud of you. You embody the type of Jamaican that I'd love to see in a lot more of our young people. Smart, progressive, and very, very patriotic. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Take care of yourself.
Take care, Neighbor. Good night, Bye, Neighbor Rights, and hope to see everybody tomorrow.
Scratchy, hello. I hope Scratchy, if you're listening. Great, man. All right. I think we're going to
Hello, Neighbor.
Come out tonight. This
reaction.
Oh, you ever so tired.
Hello, Neighbor.
Personal attack.
We'll be together.
Hello, Neighbor.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Personal attacks.
Someday
On Mr.
we'll be together. Yes, we will.